What's up, friends, and welcome back to my channel. So we're back for day 4 of Advent of Code, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Alright, so we are back with day 4, Camp Cleanup for Advent of Code 2022. So you know the drill. I'm going to take a few minutes to read the problems because I think they're getting harder, and then we'll come back and look over it together. Okay, so this doesn't seem too bad. Our overall problem is that there are elves who are given sections that they need to clean, elf pairs actually. So, for example, here we have the first elf pair need to do 2 to 4 for the first elf, and 6 to 8 for the second elf. So they need to cover, like elf 1 needs to cover 2, 3, and 4, and then elf 2 in the first pair needs to cover 6, 7, and 8. So our goal here is to try to find how many pairs are basically duplicating their work. How many pairs of elves are there where one elf is doing work that is completely covered by the second elf? So if you see in the example, we have 2 to 8, which fully contains 3 to 7. So this pair here is a pair where there's duplicate work being done. And likewise with this one, so section 6 to 6, which is just 6, is being already covered by the second elf who's doing sections 4, 5, and 6. So let's go ahead and do that, and also grab our puzzle input because I keep forgetting to do that. Alright, so I've just set up all our files, and I have our sample on the right here as well as our input. So let's go ahead and try to solve for the input, and as always, write down our steps. So just to see what we're working with, so this is the read file input file helper that I use for every problem. So it's splitting by a new line at the moment, so let's just make sure we're getting what we expect from the input, because from here we're going to try to break this down to get first the sections and then the pairs. Okay, so as we can see here, right now we're getting the strings for each pair. So let's try to split this into the first pair and the second pair for each line in the input. Let's write that down as step 1. Loop through input and get first and second pair. So the next thing, this might be a little verbose, but the next thing I can think of doing is just, so we have the start and the end. So we have the start and the end for each elf in terms of sections. So why don't we just create 2 lists that have every single number that of sections that the elf is working on. So for example, the first elf we'd get a list with 2, 3, and 4, and then for the second elf we get a list of 6, 7, and 8 inclusive. So then we should be able to do something like just see if the first elf sections are contained in the second elf section or vice versa. So that is probably, again, not the most efficient way to do it, but it is probably the quickest and easiest way that I can think of. So yeah, let's just go with that. Each elf create a range list containing all the sections they are working on. Okay, and then step 3, see if elf 1 sections contain elf 2 and vice versa. If so, increment the overlapping number of pairs. So we should probably have an overlapping number of pairs. So like overlapping pairs, and set that to 0. Okay, so this is our outline. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have this as our input. So now we want to loop through our input. So for pairs in input, just print this so we can see what we're working with. Okay, so what we can do is split this. So let's just reassign it. Pairs dot split by so it looks like there's a comma. So I'm just going to print as we go just so we can visibly see what we're doing. Cool. Yeah, so now we have like elf 1, elf 2. Great. So we can just say like first elf equals pairs at 0 and elf equals pairs at 1. Cool, so now we're going to get to this section where for each elf we want to create a list containing all the sections that they're working on. Let's call this first elf sections. And just so we can again see what we're working with, let's just print the first elf. Comment this out for a second. So yeah, we know we kind of want the range from the first index to, again, like we know the second number will be a dash. Actually, I totally lied. These could be double digits. So we probably want to split this again by dashes, just so we know we're getting like a number and a number. So let's split this by dash. So the first elf is going to be that, and then same with the second elf. Let's see what we're working with here. Okay, yeah. So now we can just do the first index and the second index for each elf. So the first elf sections is going to be... So we can just create a list on the fly. So we're going to do section for section in the range of the int first index. So essentially we're going to loop through each section in the range of this first number to the range of the second number, and because range is not inclusive of the last one, we're going to add one. So this is going to be first elf at 0, and then this is going to be the first elf at 1 plus 1. So let's just see if that's coming out right. Okay, there we go. That looks promising. Okay, so we're just gonna copy paste this for the second elf, because why do the work twice? So I'm just gonna make two variables that are gonna be conditionals, one for checking this against this and vice versa. So first to second. So for this, there's actually a function called all, which checks all the items in one list are within another list. So we're just going to use that, but we could also do it manually like we did on day 3, where we just loop through all of them and say if X is in the second list. But there's a function that does it for you, so why do the work? Okay, so that should be doing what we need. So now we're going to say if this or this plus equals 1, and we just want to return this. All right, let's see what that gives us. That should give us 2. I don't know when I made another terminal, but okay. Okay, 2, that's good. That's promising. Let's run it on our input and see what number we get. 571. That sure is a number. Put in. Oh, we got a gold star. There we go. I don't know why I sounded surprised, but good job, team. We did it. Time to reward ourselves as usual with some coffee, this time with, oh my goodness, it's so full, with hazelnut creamer. All right, so we're going to come back after I take a look at the problem. Okay, so now we just want to see whether anything overlaps at all. So instead of entire sections overlapping, we just want to see if any sections are included in both the first and second elf. That doesn't seem too bad. Okay, this is expected to be 4 now. So, okay, this probably is going to seem like a hack, but we can just change all to any, and we can probably just check 1, because if it's in the first one, then you know it's in the second one as well. So we can just like get rid of this. Change this to any. Take this out. Because as we know, we just want to get an answer. Hey, look at that. It's a 4. Let's change it back to the input. 917. All right, we did it. Another gold star. Thank you again for joining me, everyone, on day 4 of Advent of Code. Stay tuned for day 5 coming very soon to a YouTube video near you, I guess. See you soon, friends.